All right, let's dive into problem number 2. I'm a real estate investor. I'm trying to find a flip deal, and I found the deal. I analyzed it. Boom, it's an awesome deal. I don't have good credit, and I don't have a ton of cash in the bank. How do I buy the house?
Excellent. So one of the best things about real estate investing is that it's not really credit based as much. I mean, that might determine somewhat of your interest rate, but for the most part, it's asset based, right? So if you have a house, again, I'm going to make up numbers for example's sake, and the ARV, the after repair value, is $300,000, and you have it in contract for $100,000, I can guarantee you're going to get the funding. It doesn't matter what credit you have or how much money you have, you'll get 100% financing if need be. There's hard money lenders out there, which are basically
What is a hard money lender?
it's a special bank created for real estate investors, right? So they basically work on giving short-term loans up to 12 months, and they just go by the asset. If they can agree with you and determine that it's going to be worth 300 and you have it in contract for 100, and they're holding a mortgage for 100, they really have nowhere to lose. You see what I'm saying? If you don't pay them, they foreclose, they take the house back, they win essentially. Most of the time, they'll require you to put 10 to 20% down. If you have that, great. If you don't have that, again, that's where you can,
Use
partner with
assets
a
as
friend,
collateral,
use
or
assets as collateral, but partner with. The first few deals are the hardest because you're trying to build that first 10, 20%.
right?
But, one of my very first deals, I picked it up for $30,000 and I turned around and wholesaled it, right? So, like, literally, I didn't even do anything to it and I sold it for $115,000.
Yeah.
So I had another deal right after that for $60,000. I put $40,000 in it. I sold it for $160,000. So it's very easy to make large sums of money in this real estate game that will then help you for your marketing costs in order to scale and expand, and for your down payments and renovation costs on different properties. But essentially, you're going to be starting with hard money lenders, and as you progress and gain experience, you're going to be working with private money lenders, which is essentially anybody who has a lot of money and wants to invest in real estate but wants to act on more as a silent partner, right? So they would basically hold the note. You'd pay them interest-only payments until the renovations are done, the property is sold, or flipped, or refinanced, and they'd get their money back, and you're on to the next deal.
Yeah, and I'm sure that comes with experience and track record too. As a
Correct.
first-time home buyer, I'm not going to give you money
Correct.
for some deal that you've never done
Exactly.
before. That's a huge risk for me. But I'm sure now, with your giant $30 million real estate portfolio,
$15 million on the way to 30, but yes, $15 million real estate portfolio that I built from $0 in less than 5 years. My very first deal, actually, while being here in Florida, came to me in Atlanta, Georgia, of all places. I've never even been to Atlanta, Georgia. And the lady was crying to me on the phone, so desperate to sell that house, sight unseen. She went down to $20,000. Okay, that was $20,000 that I did not have. So I asked everybody and then some. Nobody wanted to talk to me. Hard money lenders didn't want to speak to me because I hadn't created an LLC yet, which they're going to require of you. Eventually, and as a last resort, I asked my mother, who lived in Israel, if I can borrow the money. Now, this was her entire life savings. This was everything that she had. My mother raised me and my sister by herself in a one-bedroom apartment, making less than $18,000 a year before taxes.
Wow.
So this was everything that she had saved up, and she didn't ask me any questions. She wired the funds. I bought that house sight unseen. I put on my credit card a flight to Atlanta, Georgia. I flew there. It was the middle of December. I took some pictures of the house. I went to the local hotel. I posted it on Craigslist, of all places, because I didn't know any better, for
Right.
$40,000. I sold it the very next day for $40,000, and I flew back. And I wired my mom back $20,000 plus $3,000 in interest. I had $17,000 left. I spent just about that entire $17,000 on business cards and my very first one zip code marketing campaign, which led to profits of well over $100,000 and my first rental, and turned that into more marketing and more houses. And
You
it was
just
a
needed
lot of
that
hustle
one
and
win,
grind.
that
That's it.
aha.
That one win, that aha. But it came with a lot of hard work and dedication.
Yeah.
And the thing with real estate is that it's not a get rich quick thing. It's not going to be overnight. But if you're willing to put your head down for a few years and put in the work, I mean, success is almost guaranteed. You just have to be willing to put in the work. And there's so many resources out there. There's so many resources out there on how to do it correctly, how to mitigate your risk, and so on.
How much time does it actually take to do a house flip? Because the way that you're making it sound, you find the deal, contractors, flip. I made 100 grand. Boom. How time intensive is it actually to execute on one of these things, work on the deal, work with the contractors, and
Excellent
flip the
question.
house?
Excellent question. It doesn't matter if it's a flip or a rental. My renovations are going to be approximately the same, and they're going to take anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks once we get started. Once it's complete, the house either goes on the market for sale and usually sells relatively quick because we produce very beautiful houses for a fair price. And if it's a rental, same thing. As soon as it's complete, we put it on the market. It rents out almost instantly. I'm almost always at 100% occupancy on all of my rentals, which is amazing.
Yeah, beautiful thing about residential, people always need homes.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
especially at that price point. I'm wondering if you try and stick within a price range, or do you ever dabble in the multi-million-dollar homes, multi-family homes?
There's a market for that. I know other guys who do dabble in that. There's a market for that. It's not my market.
Right.
I'm more about
Good on you, knowing your lane, what you're good at,
exactly
and going all in on it.
Exactly. I also try not to go out further than 30 to 45 minutes around my radius. I try to stick to having, all of my houses surrounded by where I live and where my office is. And I kind of like the mayor of my own little village with all my houses surrounded. And it just works out, I tried going further. I tried doing different deals. It's just, you come up with a niche. If it works, if it's not broken, don't fix it, as they say.
Yeah.
And what I do works. Now, is it like, 1, 2, 3? Look, 1, 2, 3 is wholesaling. A lot of guys out there, I believe, are making the mistake of wholesaling because they don't know how to acquire these deals or how to build themselves, an actual real estate portfolio. You wholesale a deal, you'll make the money instantly. You'll make about, $10,000 on average on the wholesale, which is essentially finding the deal and giving it to another investor and just making that little spread. You find it for 100,000, I'll offer it to you for 110. You front the 110, I keep 10, seller gets 100, and that's kind of what wholesaling is. I don't believe in that. I believe that you should work harder to try and acquire that deal and all the deals that you come across.
Yes.
While it won't be an instant $10,000, it'll be a couple months later. You can make 50, 60, 80, $100,000. Eventually, you're going to reach, a pipeline to where you have a closing every week or every month, and now you're getting, really fat checks as opposed to wholesaling these properties. Not to mention, if you were to keep them as a rental and not have to pay those short-term capital gains and be able to build on that cash flow. Another big reason that people often refrain from trying to build rentals and a rental portfolio is because they'll sit there and say, why not sell this house and make $50,000? What's the point of keeping this as a rental? I'll only make $400 or $500 a month. It's not much when you're looking at $50,000. But what they don't realize is that $500 a month is going to turn into $2,000, and that $2,000 is going to turn into 12 and 20, and eventually you'll reach that, and relatively quick, that $50,000 a month. So making $50,000 on a deal is amazing, but making $50,000 a month in your sleep for life and be able to retire early and travel the world and do whatever the hell you want, that's the ultimate flex, in my opinion. And that's true success. To me, true success is financial freedom.